so much censorship on this manuscript that it's hard to take this seriously. And yet, this is the problem that Muslims aren't aware of. And you Muslims who are watching this, you've got to show us and you've got to prove with us that this could be anything near what we have written, even at the time of Abdul Malik and Al-Hajjaj. This has been attributed to Uthman. It has nothing to do with Uthman, much, much later. And yet, all these coverings, all these erasers, all these coverings over top and writing over tops, that you do that when you're trying to standardize it, when you're censoring it, full of censorship here, proving that even after Al-Hajjaj and Malik, they're still censoring it, they're still covering it. So it matches the consonantal text of this. Now stop and think, when was this chosen?
Quranic manuscripts like Al-Husayni are consistently contributed to Uthman when they clearly are not. Muslims must consider the possibility that the standard Islamic narrative, when it comes to the Quran, is not the true story of how the Quran came into existence.
Tell us about it then, brother.
Hey. For the last few episodes, we've been zooming in and highlighting a number of early Quranic manuscripts, and today is a continuation of that focus. We are going to talk today about a manuscript that is found in Egypt. It's called Al-Husayni, basically manuscript. And with me here, of course, to unpack, the background behind this manuscript is Dr. J. Smith. Dr. J,
Hey.
thank you again, and welcome back.
That set fire.
Thank you. Now, before we get into the Husayni, I want to just point out something. I have another manuscript here that is not part of the six that Altakulich looked at. This is the St. Petersburg manuscript that is in St. Petersburg in Russia. There are other ones. Interestingly, when you look at the cover in the English, it's in Russian and English, it says the Quran of Uthman. It says the Quran of Uthman. And then you look at it and you open it up and you will see that when you actually look at it, it's whoops, I have it upside down here. Let's get it right side up. When you look at it, it's got many of the same problems. This is the Hijazi script, much like the Petropolitanus, very similar to the Petropolitanus and also to the Ma'il that we looked at earlier. And you notice it's very similar to that. It doesn't have any diacritical marks. It does not have any vowelization, the 5 dots or the 3 vowels in any of these. It does have some medallions where the verses are, more so than those do. So this is probably even after those. But they're claiming that this is Uthmanic. Yet this is surely, and this one is a late 8th century, early 9th century that has been dated. So they always say Uthman here. I just want to point out this one here. The Musaf al-Sharif attributed to Uthman ibn Affan. Again, this is attributed. Why do they keep doing that? Well, because this is the popular notion that all of these manuscripts come from Uthman.
Right.
Remember, Uthman only had one. And none of these are the same. Take a look at this one. This is a completely different script. This is the Kufic script. That's the what they call the Hijazi script. Completely different script. This is a much later script, much more stylized, much more beautifully, much more handicraft, proving that this is a much later state, still attributed to Uthman. And that's the lie that we have to be careful with. A lot of the Muslims are just lying through the teeth. Now, at least it says attributed. And Altakulich in the introduction.
Takia, that's what they're allowed to do. It's because of Takia. Dr. J. Smith, you know that. They're allowed to do that. They're allowed to lie and deceive. Allowed to bring people in by whatever means necessary. Lie about whatever. Obviously, the preservation of the Quran. I'm back on dealing with these Muslims, y'all. Back on showing the sources that disprove these Muslim lies. Now, granted, if you want to take this in and you want to say, hey, it still doesn't matter, that's a whole nother thing. But don't be going around showing and sharing that, oh man, one Quran, one preservation. 80,000 differences, if I'm not mistaken. Roughly 80,000 differences. Via Dr. J. Smith and Hatun Tash some years back, 1,300 differences between just the Warsh and the Hafs alone. Differences. It's not. All these recitations, all this misunderstanding of the truth. Because Muslims obviously state that the Quran is the unchanging word, but yet we got changes over and over again. Y'all got to deal with that. And like I have to say with every video, don't come on here attacking. Defend your faith. Stop running. Defend it. Say, hey, that's not true. Give the source. Don't just say, and then just jump onto something else. We want to know where these variations are coming from and why there's so many variations. That's what I want to know, at least. But anyway, let's get back to it.
Is very careful to say, as we've noted, that he says none of these are from Uthman. So he does say that. Then why does he keep it on the cover?
Well, like you said, it's the popular view.
It's the popular. Let's go to the Husseini one and let's take a look at this one here. Here you can see it's a huge manuscript.
Monumental, yeah.
It's monumental. It's doubly monumental. You don't stick that in your back pocket and walk around town with it. So it is certainly after it's even 9th century, and most of these most of the scholars are putting this to the 9th century. You can see it has there. You can, much like the other ones, you have large drawings. These are geometric drawings. In fact, when you look at this, they actually go into these drawings, showing them where they come from different mosques, and that's why you can pretty well know that this is also a later script from that. Conclusion of Altıkılıç and Ekmel el-Sanlu on the Husseini manuscript. First and foremost, they say right from the beginning, this is not Uthmanic. It is dated from the early to mid-8th century. Other scholars like Dorosh put it to the 9th century. So that's where a dispute comes in. Again, you're talking about 100 years difference in their dating. How is it that Ekmel and Altıkılıç say? They don't really say why they make that claim. They just know it's not 7th century. So they're putting it back to after Al-Hajjaj and after Al-Malik. That's true. They're making it in the 8th century. It was stated that the Cairo copy, and this is the Husseini manuscript, might have been written on the order of the Abd-Aziz ibn Marwan, the governor of Egypt. However, the reason for reaching this conclusion has not been explained. This is their quote. We share the view that this copy is not one of the Muslims attributed to Caliph Uthman at all. What's more, when you look at it, and you'll see it has manuscript variants, but this is what's interesting. Look at the manuscript variants. Every one of these are coverings. This is something that the Husseini manuscript has a
erasers or deletions, basically.
No, these are coverings. These are not erasers or deletions.
The idea is to erase something by covering it. You don't want it to be read.
These are tapings.
Right.
Dang, so they taping over. They put makeup on. They say, nah, this ain't the eternal word. This gots to be. They didn't know really what it was. The revelation was lost somewhere in translation. All these different people writing these Qurans that, they claim that it makes the Bible corrupt, but yet the same thing. When are you guys ever going to live up to your own standard? What standard really is there of Islam? They lie about science. They lie about perfect preservation. They lie about peace. They lie about everything. Where is the standard at, y'all? Why can't y'all see and actually follow where the trail is going? The trail of truth. The trail of truth is definitely leading to y'all get up out of Islam. And that's okay. Follow it and get there quick, fast, in a hurry. You still got a chance. You still got an opportunity to get out of this nonsense. Man, let's get back into it.
I hope you all realize that. So you can see a tape there, a tape there, a tape there. Look at that. They're taping over, covering over top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this page right here. When you're doing that, you're right. They're erasing.
That's the category.
Censoring it.
Yeah.
So when Dan Brubaker looked at this, he says, wow, they're not even trying to hide it. They're not even writing over top of it. They're not even including. They are, but we'll never know until we are able to give it. You can see a little bit of the line. You can see a little of one that's coming from below. We will never know what they're covering because it's now been censored. So what has been left behind?
Whatever matches today's Quran.
Whatever matches this Quran, the Hafs text, the consonantal text. Here's one especially. This one is almost laughable. I'm not even going to go into all of that. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different coverings on just one page. It is so censored that what's left over almost just looks like chicken scratches. So you can see, you can hardly read it. You would even
That's
have a hard one. You can't read because of the dots and the vowels are missing as well. But can you see there is so much censorship on this manuscript that it's hard to take this seriously. And yet this is the problem that Muslims aren't aware of. And you Muslims who are watching this, you've got to show us and you've got to prove with us that this could be anything near what we have written, even at the time of Abd al-Malik and al-Hajjaj. This has been attributed to Uthman. It has nothing to do with Uthman, much, much later. And yet all these coverings, all these erasers, all these coverings over top and writing over tops, that you do that when you're trying to standardize it, when you're censoring it, full of censorship here, proving that even after Al-Hajjaj and Malik, they're still censoring it, they're still covering it. So it matches the consonantal text of this. Now stop and think. When was this chosen? This was chosen during the Ottoman period as the official text.
Right.
The Ottomans come to power in 1299. That means almost every one of these corrections are done after 1299.
Oh,
The 13th century.
If you wanna
So
take it back
between
to
the
the Hafs,
13th
yeah.
century up till the 1924, almost all these corrections were done. So for the 13th up to the 20th, so that 700-year period is where we know all this happened. And the reason why, because the Ottomans controlled all these manuscripts. Remember, the Ottoman Empire controlled Baghdad and Damascus. They controlled all the material that was that dispersed to all the different cities. Now, of course, the ones that are in London and Paris didn't used to be in London and Paris. They were then bought by the British Library. They were bought by the Bibliothèque Nationale, but they came from other sources, from other parts of the Muslim world. During the Ottoman Empire, you can then see why you had wholesale censorship, standardization to bring it down so it matched the consonantal text that we see now, what we call the Hafs text that was chosen in 1924.
Wonderful, wonderful work as always. Thank you so much for highlighting this. Next time, I'm going to talk about yet another
Keep breaking
one
down,
of those
y'all.
early Quranic manuscripts. This one is a palimpsest. It's called the Sana manuscript. It's a collection of many manuscripts, but there are specific ones that we are going to focus on. Until next time, have a blessed day.
Oh man, so Alpha D and Dr. J. Smith do another great job of showing the truth, man. Showing the truth, letting y'all know that what y'all been taught by y'all imams and the people that are supposed to be y'all leaders, they lie to y'all. The scholars know, learned folks know, they just lie to y'all because they don't want y'all to know. So all y'all that got converted because of these lies, man, that sucks. That sucks. So hopefully you guys come up out of it. That's what this channel is for, showing the truth, exposing the lies and the truths of Islam. So either take it and actually do better and get better, or continue to be blind, but can't say that you ain't had the information. So again, if you're watching this up until this point and you're Muslim, don't try to attack anything. Answer what it is that they're talking about in the video. And with that being said, you see the ticker down there. It's been going on this whole time. Don't say that you've been blind to it. It's been there in red and white all throughout this video. Go ahead and subscribe if you made it up to this point, and then hit that noti bell so that you can be notified anytime I drop. So you ain't never got to worry about, oh, when's the scripture plug dropping? When's it coming out? You'll know. Boom, the bell lets you know. I do these type of reactions that are pre-recorded, live reactions, and I do testimonials. So I have people come on and share what God is doing in their lives. That's what I love to do. Plug in the people, plug in the scripture, plug in the truth that continues to make the kingdom spread. That's what it's about here at the Scripture Plugs channel. That being said, this is Benny Boy. I'm out.